They just talked to Joe Biden, and he was tip-top. He was in great physical condition. He was at the top of his game. Now they're coming back covering the track saying, yeah, it looks like he was in mental decline. Well, we all know he's in mental decline. What we need to know is who was calling the shots at the White House. And one thing that was also mentioned on your show thus far is that when you sign a document that has legal implications, it has to be signed personally. It can't be signed by an autopen. You use autopen for proclamations and mass letters and things like that. So I think that if we can understand more about the autopen and whether or not Joe Biden authorized it, I think this could lead to a lot of those executive orders being kicked out in court.
All right. And when do you expect these subpoenas to go out?
Well, the letters have already gone out to the staffers as well as Dr. O'Connor. So if we don't hear anything from them in a week, then I would expect to start seeing subpoenas.
And if they fight the subpoena, what do you do?
We'll go to court. Jesse, they're going to try to plead executive privilege, and they're lawyering up, and we're ready. That's why we're making sure every I's dotted and every T's crossed.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and have you ever heard anything more stupid than this?
Thank you very much.
You didn't show up early enough to get some good real estate up here.
I love it. Any update on the autopen? I know that there was the DOJ and some others were looking into the thousands of documents that were signed off just before Joe Biden left office. Any update on the autopen?
Yes. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at how far away you are, and you're going to need to get some microphones back there. And the autopen investigation, yes. The White House counsel's office has launched their own investigation into former President Biden's usage of the autopen. We have requested some documents from the National Archives, and again, as I've said many times from this podium, and the president has said as well, it's incredibly important that we get to the bottom of who really was at the tip of the spear in the decision-making process here in the White House.
So let's get this straight. Caroline Leavitt says Biden's autopen proves he's unfit, but Trump uses it too. Comer uses it too. She screams, "Who's running the show?" while she covers for a man who can't even run his own businesses without running them into the ground. And she's just the opening act in this nightmare, because right behind her is Rob Finnerty, pretending NBC is the real villain while carrying Comer's water and ignoring the hypocrisy that's about to blow up in his face.
This happens so often now, so frequently that most people don't even notice it anymore. In the last 24 hours, what could be the best example of Trump hate from the media and corruption from the media that we've ever seen. Here's the headline. Lead investigator into Joe Biden's use of the autopen signed letters himself with a digital signature. And here's the alleged scoop, according to NBC News. Oversight chairman, Republican James Comer, used a digital signature to send out letters and subpoena notices related to the Biden autopen investigation. James Comer, the chairman of the Oversight Committee, tweeted out a picture of the NBC News reporter who wrote this report. His name is Ryan Nobles. And Comer tweeted out a picture of Nobles wearing clown makeup because Ryan is not noble. Ryan's a clown. He wrote a 25-paragraph report based on a lie, and his network is so biased and so darn corrupt that they had no problem publishing that lie, knowing that there are actually people out there who will read it and believe it and take it as fact. And that is NBC News Today, and they've been doing this for years.
James Comer is attacking Biden for using the exact same digital signature he himself uses. NBC didn't twist the story. They told the truth, and Comer's so-called smoking gun went off in his face.
An unexpected new twist in the investigation into former President Biden's use of the autopen. Let's bring in NBC News Chief Capitol Hill correspondent Ryan Nobles. What's going on there?
Well, Chris, NBC News conducted an analysis of the communications that the chair of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer, has used to bring in former members of the Biden White House to ask them questions about Biden's use of the autopen and his cognitive decline in office. And what we discovered is that of the 16 letters that Comer sent to these staffers, that they were all signed with the use of a digital signature, meaning that he did not actually sign these documents himself, similar to what he's accusing President Biden of not doing. Now, what he did do was use a wet signature, as it's called, for the actual subpoena requests for 2 Biden officials, including the White House physician Kevin O'Connor. But everything else was used with a digital signature. Now, that's not to say any of that is out of bounds. In fact, it's pretty common practice, not only in Congress, but in the executive branch, to use digital signatures or signatures that are not necessarily by the hand of the official who is signing them. But it is the crux of this investigation that the Oversight Committee is conducting, that somehow Biden's use of an auto pen or a signature that was not by his own hand thereby makes whatever he signed be invalid.
Remember when Comer swore he had Biden dead to rights? He dragged an innocent man's name through the mud, wasted months of taxpayer money, and delivered nothing. Feel, James, you finally got a taste of your own damn medicine. He claimed NBC lied when all they did was report that Comer was guilty of his own hypocrisy. He didn't bury the story. He became a punchline. NBC didn't make him look like a clown. He did it all by himself. And then, like a kid trying, one last desperate excuse, Comer tries to throw what he calls a hard pitch in court. He says Biden didn't even know who was being pardoned with the auto pen, and that puts every pardon and executive order under suspicion. A hard pitch? Comer on the mound is like Deputy Dog trying to throw a knuckleball with a wet noodle. He's out there doing an Abbott and Costello routine. Who's on first, what's on second, and he sure as hell doesn't know who's on third. James, stick to your Cracker Jacks and cheap seats. You're not a pitcher. You're a used car salesman in a ball cap, trying to sell America a lemon with the sham investigation. Remember when James Comer promised a smoking gun? We got fake bribery stories, a bogus informant who got arrested, and months of taxpayer money flushed down the drain. Now he's moving the goalposts to pardon because he's got nothing else. And let's not forget, Reagan, Bush, Trump, they all used the same auto pen. By Comer's logic, all their pardons and executive orders are invalid too. Are you going to toss those out, James? Of course not. This is pure distraction politics. So keep throwing your wild pitches, Deputy Dog. The only thing you're striking out is your own credibility. But this is where it gets worse, because this isn't just about a pen. This is about the entire playbook they use to keep you distracted, angry, and loyal while they run the same con over and over again. Republicans are so desperate to distract from the Epstein files, they'll talk endlessly about Biden and Obama. Why? Because they know their policies are unpopular. They know they can't deliver on health care, wages, education, or anything that actually improves people's lives. So they dust off old grudges and hope that the hate still works. They know exactly what they're doing. Say Obama's name, and the base remembers how they felt. Angry, insecure, inadequate. It's like flipping a switch. The old, unresolved resentment comes rushing back. And just like that, they're mad all over again. It doesn't matter if it's true. It doesn't matter if it's been debunked 100 times. The feeling is what counts. This is propaganda at its core. Step 1, invent the crisis or resurrect an old one. Step 2, make it about feelings, not facts. Step 3, keep the base so angry they don't stop to ask why nothing is actually getting fixed. That's why Comer drags Hunter Biden's laptop back into the spotlight even after the whistleblower got arrested. That's why they keep screaming about the Russian hoax even after the truth came out. Every accusation they make is a confession. They're the ones weaponizing the DOJ. They're the ones tied to Epstein. They're the ones drowning in conspiracy. And they can't stop. Because without the anger, without the conspiracies, they've got nothing. They can't talk about the truth. They can't talk about health care or wages or the economy because they have no answers. So they feed you scapegoats. They give you enemies, immigrants, Democrats, the deep state, whoever's convenient. Look at their immigration policies. It's the same manufactured outrage. They paint immigrants as criminals and drug dealers because the truth that they're just people is boring. So they create a boogeyman, dehumanize them, and celebrate cruelty. That's not law and order. That's propaganda weaponized to justify inhumanity. Look at their anti-vax nonsense. They rip fluoride out of the water. They push conspiracy garbage like RFK's natural immunity nonsense, and kids end up dying from measles, diseases we've already eradicated. That's not making America healthy. That's criminal negligence. They never learned how to cope with being wrong, so they lash out harder every time the wound is reopened. And while they're doing all of this, Elon Musk is out here dropping names tied to Epstein, and they refuse to subpoena him because the truth is the Epstein files are the real story, and they can't afford you to focus on it. So they scream about auto pens and who's really running the show instead. It's all the same pattern. Conspiracies are the glue. Feelings over facts, anger over truth, projection over accountability, and here's the bottom line. This is why it works. It fills the void in their minds. It makes them feel smarter, tougher, richer, better than someone else. It gives them self-validation. It's easier to be mad than to admit that you were wrong. It's easier to blame the boogeyman than to face the truth. But don't be fooled. This isn't strength, it's fear, it's insecurity, it's manipulation. So yeah, have you ever seen anything so stupid? Because this is it. A party so desperate to hide the truth, they'll waste taxpayer money on an auto pen, drag up old grudges, and keep new enemies just to keep you distracted. They promise justice, but they protect predators. They promise health, but they spread conspiracies that kill kids. They promise freedom, but they put the boot on your neck and tell you it's someone else's fault. And the only way to keep it going is with conspiracies, because without the lies, without the anger, without the hate, it all falls apart. Every accusation is a confession, and every time they scream louder, it's because the truth is catching up. And that is an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.